Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Luke Papala Show. And there's a lot to talk about on this episode. We have a big show. It's a great show. And we're just going to jump into it. So here we go. Our first topic here starts in Minnesota. And so by now, everybody's pretty much aware of the Somali population in Minnesota, particularly Minneapolis. And so right here, we have somebody who's actually making headlines in the political sphere in Minnesota who does happen to be Somali. And he's going viral for his Trump-proof policies. Now, we'll explain that in a second. But his name is Omar Feta, and so he's running for Minneapolis mayor to raise the minimum wage by over $4 over a few years, freeze the rent, and Trump-proof the city. And so this is kind of in a direct correlation to Zohran Mamdani and everything that all the success that he's having in New York. And now you're going to see people like this guy does not look very American. He looks very scary, almost cartoonish, if you will. And so you see a couple people in the comments here, Somalis have no place in America. Why is this guy even here? Thank Donald Trump for not deporting these people like he promised. Okay, but really, what are the policies? Let's not judge this guy just off how he looks. Let's look at these policies and see truthfully if this guy is bad news or if it's just conservative media kind of placating to the radical side, to fear-mongering for conservatives. So let's play this and let's see what his policies are actually going to be.
Everyone keeps asking me, Omar, why aren't you doing more videos? As a state senator with a second full-time job and a kid on the way, I just haven't been able to find the time. I've also been fighting for you, passing things like tuition-free college for working-class families, rideshare protections for our Uber and Lyft drivers, and the legalization of fentanyl testing strips. But this summer, you're going to be seeing a lot more of me, because we deserve nice things in Minneapolis too. To make an affordable
We deserve nice things in Minneapolis too, is what he says. And while Minneapolis may deserve nice things, they don't have a population that knows how to have nice things. When you look at everything that happened over the course of 2020, with the George Floyd riots, they quite literally burnt their city down. And over the past spring, there was that one story of the white woman who called the black kid the N-word. And I believe a Somali immigrant videoed it, and it was at a park that was overrun with Somali immigrants, mostly migrants, not legal immigrants. And it was kind of described that these people kind of took over this section of Minneapolis, and they don't speak English, they don't practice our traditions, they brought the third world to Minneapolis and kind of destroyed that block of the city. So when he says Minneapolis deserves to have nice things, I would like to remind you that if you assimilate, then you will have nice things. But if you don't assimilate, like the Somali population that has been documented in Minneapolis for a good amount of time, this is what happens. So let's continue.
Minneapolis that works for everyone, we need a mayor that works as hard as you do. I'm ready to work hard too. 1. Build a Minneapolis that working people can afford to call home. 2. Protect our city from a hostile White House. And 3. Diversify our city's public safety response. By increasing the minimum wage to $20 by 2028 and passing rent stabilization to stop price gouging and incentivizing new construction, we can protect workers.
I like the protecting workers part. But I just don't understand how people think that raising the minimum wage is going to work. Obviously, it's $16 an hour, and he wants to raise it to $20 per hour by 2028. And freeze the rent, which is what he just said, right here. Let's see.
$20 by 2028 and
passing rent stabilization to stop price gouging, so essentially freezing the rent. Now, a problem happens. We all know this problem if you're of the conservative perspective when it comes to fiscal conservatism. If you have the minimum wage being increased, which is whatever, and it is mostly for people that are younger, high school, college age jobs, which are meant to be like a first or second job as like a stepping stone to your career. When you do that, you kind of mess everything up, because then what an employer is going to turn around and do is going to say, okay, so I have to pay these workers more, What I'm going to do is I'm going to make everything more expensive to offset the price of the money that I would be losing by paying these workers more now, because I'm directly mandated to do this by the federal government. And okay, so that seems to be a problem, and nobody's really told me or explained to anyone really how you solve that, how you solve the reaction to your action. So put that aside. The second thing is this rent freezing, which I haven't seen a good argument other than taxing the rich. The problem is that if you tax the rich, just like Zoran Mamdani wants to do in New York City, then they will leave and they will move to another city. And then the millionaires and billionaires that are stimulating your economy the most by making purchases in your city, allowing the economy to function, putting money into your city, buying things, spending money. Okay. When that happens, then you are going to lose a giant chunk of the money and things will not be bought. Entertainment will not be taken out as much as it was, if that makes sense. And maybe I'm not putting that the right way, but the point I'm trying to say is you will not have as much money being spent in your city if you are elected mayor and you get to enact these policies like you would, because these policies they always end at taxing the rich, which I'm not against the rich and the wealthy paying their fair share. However, like he's saying right here, you are going to tax the rich, fine, because that's the only way that you can get the money for this. You are going to drive them out of your city, and they're going to move somewhere else. And you're not going to have all that money to stimulate your economy. And then you are going to further drive yourself into a city that nobody wants to go to now, and people aren't going to live there after. So that's that.
Stabilization to stop price gouging and incentivizing new construction, we can protect workers. Protecting all of our communities from Donald Trump means not letting MPD interact with ICE.
So he doesn't want the illegal migrants to be rounded up. He's not for the mass deportations. Could you tell?
Whether it's for an immigration raid or not, our residents deserve a mayor that will stand up to Donald Trump and say, no, not in our community. Did you know that the city's own data showed that 47% of calls to MPD can be diverted to non-police response? Cops aren't social workers. Investments.
Here we go. So he's also running on defunding the police too. And obviously we've seen in Minneapolis how that's went. So right now with this guy, the Somalian immigrant that wants to run for mayor in Minneapolis, who does happen to be a far-left Democrat by the looks of his policies, he's already said, okay, we are going to freeze the rent. We are going to be anti-ICE and go against all of the mass deportations, which the president has enacted. We're going to go against the president, the quote-unquote most powerful person in the world. But that could be... that's just a definition, not necessarily true. Let's not deviate from the point here. So you have that. And now you're going to campaign on defunding the police, saying 47% of these situations can be handled by social workers. Cops aren't social workers is what they're saying. Well, what is a social worker going to do when you have a domestic dispute and the husband or boyfriend is very angry and you can't convince him to stop beating his girlfriend or wife with words? Then what will you do? And obviously this guy must not have been living here very long. I don't know. This doesn't seem like a good policy, though, if you want safety. It just does not. I could get on board with protecting workers and industry and innovation. Of course, I can get on board with that. The problem is everybody says that.
Programs like these ensure that the appropriate response arrives when we call 911. And we can actually free up police resources to focus on violent crime that detracts from community safety. Oh, I'm sorry. It's my campaign managers again. They've been on my case all week about make more videos. I'll find the time tomorrow.
Yeah, so this guy looks really scary, folks. Really scary. Real cartoonish. I mean, look at this guy. He looks like a superhero villain. He does legit look like a villain in a superhero movie. I don't know, man. And you're gonna see this too. That's a prediction that many people have made. You're gonna see these far left progressive Democratic candidates for pretty much every position in these major left wing cities, even probably right wing cities. You'll see this, and their messaging might work. So we'll see. But Minneapolis can definitely get worse, especially if they enact something like this by voting in a mayor like this. It can definitely get worse, especially if you're going to defund the police, because we already know what happened in 2020 when they tried to do that, and you saw they burnt Minneapolis down. There's multiple buildings that are just not there anymore. So there's that. So I don't know. But I do want to transition. I would like to transition into something, actually a video I made yesterday. I made a video reviewing Superman yesterday, and the internet, mostly it was a positive reaction. Like, I didn't think many people would agree with me that I thought that Superman was a bad movie, and that it lacked substance, and that I didn't agree with the creative choices that were made in the film. What else? And I didn't agree with how Superman kept getting his ass kicked in the movie repeatedly, and how he had to be saved by Mr. Terrific, and how the film felt like a team-up movie, and how I couldn't connect with the characters regardless. Okay, you watched the video. If you didn't watch the video, go watch the video. It's a really good and thought-provoking critique and review of the new Superman movie directed by James Gunn. But I just wanted to double down on a couple of things that you guys commented and that you guys said, because I do think these points deserve to be made. There was one point where somebody accused me of not liking Zack Snyder's work as DCEU, and it was addressing a comment that I made when I said that there's a fringe of the Snyderverse fans that are toxic, and it's just a fringe. I would like to very much clarify that. I do not mean the people that, like, everybody that liked the Snyderverse, the DCEU. Like, I was a fan of the Snyderverse. I loved all of that, what they were trying to do. I thought the Snyder cut of the Justice League might have been the best thing out of the Snyderverse. It was very, very exciting to see, and I wish that we could have got Justice League Part 2 and Part 3, because that whole nightmare scenario, man, when you have Batman teaming up with the Joker, teaming up with Mira, teaming up with who else? Flash, teaming up with Cyborg. I think it was Cyborg. Who else was he? Harley Quinn. And they have that whole nightmare scenario where Superman becomes bad and turns bad because of Darkseid. He's working with Darkseid. And that whole thing. And the Joker, he says that thing to Batman. He had Jared Leto's Joker. He's talking about how, he had to die. He could never die to himself. He had to send a boy to do a man's job, referring to Robin when he killed Robin. Oh my gosh, man. I would have loved to have seen that. I would have so much loved to have seen that. And everything that came with that. So I'm not in any way calling the fans of the Snyderverse toxic. I'm just explaining how there's a small percentage, very small percentage, of them who like to complain about everything. But I would like to just say it's not a broad generalization. I consider myself a fan of the greater Snyderverse, and I wish that it could have continued, because I don't know if this whole direction that James Gunn is taking the DC universe now, granted, it's very early, but I don't know if I necessarily agree with the creative choices that they're putting forth. There was another critique of the film, just saying that I didn't give Superman a chance. I mean, I pretty much did say going into the video that I went into it with an open mind, and I really wanted to like the film, but I did give it a chance, and I really think the film is mid. I don't think it's good. A lot of people did agree with me about the points that I made, that the film it doesn't have a true arc. That Superman does get his ass kicked multiple times, and throughout the whole movie, in fact. And how, Henry Cavill's films were better, and his Superman was just portrayed better. And this guy's not tough. Henry Cavill's tough, and the whole thing about Superman being human, it's like he's not human. He's quite literally an alien. He's the most powerful being in the universe. So that's all. And then there was a final critique of my video, what I said, and I just want to clear that up as well here. Talking about Superman bombing at the box office. And it did bomb at the box office. Let's just be very clear about that. I would like to pull up the numbers too to show you guys exactly what I'm talking about here, because this is very important that we're very accurate when it comes to the box office numbers. All right, so Superman right here, and I'm going to put this on the screen for you guys as well, because we just got these first weekend office numbers back. And we're going to put that up for you. Here we go. So right here you see from Warner Brothers Discovery, it says, a heroic debut. Superman opened to $220 million at the global box office this weekend, signaling a bold new chapter for DC Studios. But the reason that I say it is a bomb, we have this tweet from Clay Travis, multiple tweets summarizing how bad this is compared to Batman vs. Superman. He says right here, Superman is a woke bust. I do not agree with that, first off. Going to drastically underperform the last Superman movie box office, Batman vs. Superman, and only beat the last Superman movie released because of inflation and more days in the theater. Will struggle to make any money based on cost and marketing. A couple people have said this, but this is not the majority opinion. He followed that up with another tweet. Warner is going to pay a ton of media to report otherwise, but focus on numbers, not headlines. Batman vs. Superman opened to $166 million several years ago. The last solo Superman did $117 million. This one will do $122-ish. Barely beat the last Superman despite more days and inflation. It's a bust. And so that's very interesting, but we have to keep that in mind. So there's that. And listen, the film, I tried to enjoy the film. I realistically did, but I wanted to hammer home a couple points. This is my true opinion. I'm not trying to grift here. I wish I loved the film. I tried to love the film, and I'll be doing another video when it comes to Fantastic Four. Obviously a bigger Marvel fan than DC, although I do love Batman. And so hopefully, fingers crossed, that Fantastic Four is a solid film. I'm very excited about it. They're doing a fresh new take. Fingers crossed. So, there's that. Next up here, we do have another transition. We're going to transition again here. And I'm here to talk about Charlie Kirk. Specifically, he had a little pivot, interestingly enough, on Jeffrey Epstein. So yesterday we covered how him and Megyn Kelly kind of came to the opinion that Mossad was behind Jeffrey Epstein, and how it's pretty clear that Israel was behind all of the Epstein ordeal. And I'm trying to find that video here. Bear with me, everybody, but it was quite enlightening. And here's that video. So we're going to play that for you. And then he changed up his tune today, but like I said, we will play the video from yesterday when he was at Turning Point USA event. And it is quite striking to see the difference in just 2 days. So we'll play this one for you.
Intel community involvement in this?
I wouldn't be surprised one bit. I am convinced, based on my own sources and my own reporting on this story, he wasn't one of ours.
So he was an American, which leads basically three options: MI6, Saudi, or Mossad.
Yep.
Which one would you choose?
I guess Mossad, given his connection to Ghislaine Maxwell.
So what does that mean?
Well, I mean, it's possible that that's the reason everything's getting buried, that there is some treasure trove, and it's getting buried because...
How many people here believe that? Raise your hand. Okay, I'd say about half the hands think that it's being buried because of an Israeli thing.
It could be. I really don't know.
And I have no evidence to suggest that.
No, me neither. I did think it was very odd how...
So you see Charlie Kirk, I apologize, he didn't outright say it, but he's not shutting the conversation down by any means. I mean, he's having Megyn Kelly on his platform to talk about this issue, and he's once again not shutting it down. And so today, Charlie Kirk came out, and he said that he's done talking about Epstein. He's just done. And that he will trust his friends in the Trump administration. And so watch this video, because it's really a big shift from 2 days ago or yesterday when that first video came out.
Honestly, I'm done talking about Epstein for the time being. I'm going to trust my friends in the administration. I'm going to trust my friends in the government to do what needs to be done, solve it, balls in their hands. I've said plenty this last weekend. So if you guys want to see my commentary on it, that's fine. Honestly, I'm done.
Honestly, I'm done talking about the Epstein situation, is what he says. And here's the thing. Not only have you, over the weekend, just inflated this whole thing because you are a Christian Zionist, you are a self-proclaimed Christian Zionist, you celebrate the Sabbath on Saturday. A little bit weird. But continuing on here, how could you not care? There were thousands of kids who were sexually abused hundreds and hundreds of times. How could you not care about these kids being violated like that, being abused like that? Boys and girls, and being trafficked. How could you not care? I just don't understand. And these are the most powerful people in the entire world, and you are going to be complicit and just not talk about it anymore. You're a journalist last time I checked. You are a reporter last time I checked. You should be reporting on this ongoing story where it is the biggest cover-up, in my opinion, in the history of politics. If you have all of these political figures, the people that make our laws, were doing unspeakable acts that you could not even think of to little kids just so they could get off, and you're not going to talk about it anymore. You're not going to cover it because it could implicate Trump, or it could implicate a couple of people on the right. Sorry. I just don't understand that. I don't get it. I don't like it. I don't like the inauthenticity of this, because he saw that his base, the Turning Point USA base, the majority of them, when he asked them to raise their hand if they thought that Israel was behind Epstein and Mossad was behind Epstein, majority of them raised their hands, and he saw that, and he says, well, I'm not going to say yes or no. But he certainly didn't shut it down when Megyn Kelly said that she thought that Mossad was behind the whole Epstein honeypot situation with all these celebrities, politicians, CEOs, and stuff like that. He certainly didn't shut her down then, because he was probably scared, because it wouldn't play well with his base. Same thing that Trump does. And so it's very interesting. I don't really like this whole thing of shutting down dissent, shutting down conversation. It just doesn't seem like the right thing to do, considering that there were thousands of victims who were abused and sexually damaged for their entire lives now. And it's a very sad case. It's a shame. And yeah, I'm just not a fan of Charlie Kirk saying that. Not at all. I've been talking about this for 4 years. I off and on have been reporting on this, or trying to report on this, for 4 years, and trying to find as much information as I can, and we thought we were going to get transparency from the administration. Again, this is not something I voted on at all. I didn't vote for Trump because of this. I voted for Trump, number one, to keep us out of World War III. And, you know, every day it's up and down, up and down. But we'll see, man. I hope the people in power that are truly guilty, I hope justice comes for them, and it will come for them in the end, after this life. If you're a Christian, you believe that, you know, if you're not sorry for your sins you've committed on planet Earth, on this earth, then you will go to hell for eternal damnation. And it doesn't sound like any of these powerful people are sorry for what they did. So they'll get what they deserve soon enough. But not a fan of Charlie Kirk shutting down any dissent and just stopping all of that from happening. So there's that. I have another thing to talk about, speaking of Charlie Kirk. And in particular, it comes to Dave Smith. And so this is actually from that Turning Point USA debate, that event that they had a couple of days ago. But it's very interesting. So this is Dave Smith debating Charlie Kirk, and I want you guys to understand this and just take it in. We'll react to it after. But it's another clip that went viral, and I really want you guys to understand why Charlie Kirk is not talking about Israel anymore and not talking about Epstein when it comes to Israel and Mossad. So take a listen here.
12-day work. Is that right? Let's stay focused on that.
Yeah.
We can.
Well, the thing, Charlie,
but defend yourself.
Sure.
Obviously.
Well, the thing is, Charlie, as you may have noticed, some of you may have seen some of my other debates. Every single time I come up here to debate issues, and they come up here to debate me and my character. It's all they have every single time, because they can't actually take on any of the arguments. And so the most pathetic, low-hanging fruit of, you guys like Trump, this guy said bad things about Trump. Listen, guys, I'm a free American. I supported Donald Trump in this last election. Yes, he did just actively cover up a giant child rapist ring, and I'm going to criticize him for that, okay? And I'm sorry, after all these years of us right-wingers saying, protect the children, come on, that's bad for your soul if you don't. You speak up about that. It's horrible.
Day work.
Yes. Yes. He's preaching right there. This is just how it is. And so, once again, this is why Charlie Kirk will no longer talk about Epstein, because he understands, as a Christian Zionist here, his views are kind of compromised here. And he is complicit in not talking about this whole cover-up because of all of these kids that have suffered at the hands of the Epstein, of the Maxwells of the world, and all of these celebrity CEOs and politicians that are just being covered up for. Hopefully the truth is set free, but I doubt it. But again, that's all we'll say about that particular story. But I did just want to, I wanted to just put it in the show because I do find it very interesting how these people continue to cover up. It's very unfortunate. Very unfortunate. People that you thought that were not necessarily on your side, but people that you thought that you were a fan of. And yeah, it's good to see these people being revealed, though. I will say that. All right, so to transition to something that has to do with sports, believe it or not, and it's been getting traction. The story has been gaining traction in the social media news cycle, and I felt the need to talk about it and read this article on this particular former NFL player because it's a very unfortunate situation, very tragic situation. And so if you know who Teddy Bridgewater is, he has been suspended from Miami Northwestern for allegedly giving impermissible benefits to his players. So he's a coach, I guess. I haven't been familiar with Teddy Bridgewater since he left the NFL. He was a quarterback, and he was pretty good when he was healthy, and then he got hurt, and he was a backup, but still a pretty good backup. But this headline would elude you to believe that Teddy was doing something wrong. Well, as we read here in this article, that's not the case. From Yahoo Sports, former NFL quarterback turned high school football coach Teddy Bridgewater was suspended from Miami Northwestern after providing impermissible benefits to his players, he revealed in a Facebook post Sunday. Bridgewater confirmed the suspension and said he was committed to staying with Miami Northwestern even though the team suspended him. The suspension came from Miami Northwestern, and it's impossible to suspend somebody who doesn't work for you. So if I'm suspended from Miami Northwestern, I'm free to go to another school of my choice, but I'm not going anywhere. And if it comes down to it, I will volunteer from the bleachers like I used to do in 2018 and 2019 when no one had a problem. The suspension may stem from a post Bridgewater put on Facebook on July 7th. In the post, Bridgewater revealed he covered Uber rides, meals, and recovery services for his players last season. He asked fans to donate and cover those expenses this year so they wouldn't have to come directly from his pocket. That apparently drew the attention of the Florida High School Athletic Association. An official with the FHSAA, Kelvin Richardson, told Rivals those allegations were sent to Miami Northwestern and that the FHSAA are going to gain more information. The FHSAA has come down on other schools for similar violations per Rivals. It's unclear whether Miami Northwestern will receive additional punishments following Bridgewater's suspension. Prior to coaching at Miami Northwestern, his alma mater, Bridgewater spent 10 seasons in the NFL. Originally joined the league as a first-round draft pick by the Vikings after making the Pro Bowl his second season. Bridgewater sustained a dislocated knee and tore multiple ligaments during training camp. He returned in 2017, though he mostly spent time as a backup for the rest of his career. This is a very sad story, man. And when I saw this story on social media earlier this morning, it just struck me as something that was very unfortunate because you have few role models now in the world, but especially for young kids, for young athletes, for somebody to look up to. As unfortunate as it is, we just don't have enough good male role models out there. And so if Teddy Bridgewater was covering Uber rides, things like that, just so he wouldn't have to have his kids have the kids that he was coaching struggle in any way, because if you are playing football, I mean, I played high school football. Unfortunately, some kids come from impoverished backgrounds, impoverished neighborhoods. They're not able to get to practice. They're not able to get to games sometimes even. And whatever you can do, you have to help them if there's any way that you can help these kids. If you're a coach, you want to mentor them. You want to make sure that they become strong young men, positive contributors of society. And so if they suspended him and they fired him for doing something as simple as providing free meals and free Uber rides, I think it's very sad. It's not something that you want, because you're quite literally eliminating one of the few positive male role models that young kids have, that these kids have, unfortunately. But that's just because we have a lack of male role models in this country, lack of positive role models, people that you can look up to and say, hey, I want to be like them. And it's a shame, and I don't really agree with this at all. This is very sad. Not good. So hopefully Teddy Bridgewater is able to go back with the team eventually. But yeah, we wish him the best, man. It's a shame. It is a shame. I will say that. Yeah, I'll do this one too. We have 2 more topics max, and then we will be done. But I think that you guys are definitely gonna appreciate this one. So, Elmo's in the news recently, and it was the official Elmo X account, which was hacked, and it went viral, to say the least. So this Elmo X account, his official account on X, posted calls to kill Jews and demanded the release of the Epstein files, and also dubbed Donald Trump a child effer. And you can understand what effer is. So right, you see here, and these are just screenshots. We're not endorsing Elmo's claims. Just being very, very clear. We are not endorsing anything that Elmo is saying. So Elmo said right here, Elmo says, in all caps, all Jews should die, F Jews. Donald Trump is Netanyahu's puppet because he is in the Epstein files. Jews control the world and need to be exterminated. And then he says, release the files at real Donald Trump, child effer. And then he says, kill all Jews. Holy shit. And apparently that was not all that he said. In addition to that, okay, no, that's the same tweet. Yeah, what? What? First off, he was quite obviously hacked, and once again, we're not going to put those views out there. We're not going to endorse those views of what Elmo said, but quite obviously he was hacked. But a lot of people around the internet, I mean, I'm looking at the memes right now. I'm not going to put them out for you. But it's got a picture of Elmo on Hitler's head. Somebody put that up there. Somebody said, was Mark Levin behind this hack because calling to, quote, kill Jews is idiotic and the best marketing Mossad could possibly ask for. I guarantee this will be shown the next push they make for anti-Semitism laws. J-pill people with facts, not useless crap like this. I don't know. That was a tweet that somebody just put out. But Elmo also said to somebody goes, muting at Elmo because this is hacked. And then Elmo directly responded, and I'm not going to put this up, but he directly responded, F you and your tranny daughter. And then he called this person the N-word too. So Elmo was unhinged, if indeed he was not hacked. But what do we think of this? This is kind of just a stupid story, a little headline. Somebody goes, Elmo had a Kanye moment. I don't know, man. The memes are very funny. Somebody has right here Kanye in an Elmo hat with him holding the Elmo mask. Yeah, I don't know. There's very anti-Semitic memes, some of these, so I'm not going to put that up there. But Listen, man, was he hacked? I don't know, but it's certainly, he was most likely probably hacked. I don't think PBS tweeted that out. We don't endorse it at all, once again, not at all, but interestingly enough, there is a clip about Larry David and Elmo, which I am gonna play. It's a little clip. It's a small 15-second clip of Larry David, but Larry David, who is Jewish, this is funny. So let's watch this.
Oh my gosh, you love Elmo, don't you? Mr. Larry, Elmo liked you before.
Ask permission before you touch people, Larry.
Let's get back on the couch and let's talk about how you're feeling.
It was after that Elmo never forgot. I don't know, man. It's that's funny. I obviously, once again, I cannot say this enough. We do not endorse what Elmo said at all, but just a crazy headline in this news cycle, man. Very crazy. Very crazy. So he went nuclear on Trump and he went nuclear on the Jews. Huh. We have one more clip to talk about, and then we're done. And then the episode's over, and then you can all be happy and going your way. But if you know Myron Gaines and you know Destiny, the left-wing streamer, Myron's obviously the right-wing streamer, both have conflicting ideas. But they had a little sit-down, and they talked about a bunch of different things, but one thing they talked about is the Epstein client list and Jeffrey Epstein and Israel being involved through the Mossad and through blackmailing and being involved in all of this child sex trafficking, right? It's disgusting. And they had this debate, Myron and Destiny, and I kind of want to watch a little bit on the podcast and react to it a little bit because Myron makes some really good points. So take a listen.
Do you think if Epstein was like, Jeffrey Mohammed, that like we would be concealing the fact that he was, an asset for a foreign intelligence service? No, the documents would have been declassified immediately.
Sure, but I don't think that would have been because like we're beholden to Israel. I think it's just because a lot of older Americans remember 9/11 and fucking hate Muslims and shit. And we're like, fuck this guy.
No, sure. But like what the point is that like, if Epstein was Muslim, those documents would be out. If he was an Arab, those documents would be out. Like, but the fact that he was tied in with Israeli intelligence, like we still don't have the documents, we don't have anything. Oh, we're going to declassify him. Didn't bring anything out. Took 60 years to get the
Epstein
documents.
The Epstein is hard. I truly believe. I don't think there is a book. There is no client list. I think that Epstein was a kind of a perverted dude. Had young people there. I don't think there.
What? Destiny believes that there was no client list. That it was just Epstein. What?
There's anything to be found from the Epstein stuff. So, I think that Trump played it up because they wanted it to be and because
he was probably there. That's why he's a known freak. He was probably there.
Looked good as like a hit piece, but like I think that like the people that pushed this the hardest would have been the ones with most incentive to kill him, right? Epstein died in 2019 in a Trump federal prison, right? What was it? Acosta was a Department of Labor secretary who was the criminal attorney, I think, who got
U.S. attorney.
Or U.S. attorney.
He was the U.S. attorney out of Southern District of Florida.
Nice deal so that he didn't have prison time for the first charges that he caught. Yeah. Like if you wanted to make like Epstein, obviously, if he was on video saying, "Oh, Joe Biden is my best friend of 10 years," like people would be losing their mind because it was Trump. Nobody even knows about the call that's like publicly available. Yeah, I don't know. The issue I have, I guess, sometimes is that like I can see a bunch of stuff that like I understand. Like there's good explanations for it. And I'm like,
what he said about Trump is definitely true, and I'm surprised more people don't react to that. Epstein did admit that he was friends with Trump for a decade, and it seemed like for a long time, and that's kind of changing now. But for a long time, people didn't care. People in MAGA didn't care, and Joe Biden didn't have a tape like that. So that is a very valid point that he's going to bring up. I just want to let that be known.
Is there anything that's happening where it's like, I can't explain that without some kind of like foreign push?
So here's my thing. I actually agree with you that like people are way too hyped up on the client list or whatever. And actually, to be honest with you, I was talking with you about this, where people really need to look is the CIA. Because if he was actually a foreign agent for a foreign country, the CIA is going to have all that information. The FBI is strictly domestic, like NSA, CIA, honestly.
I would push back against Myron for one simple point. I think the client list is a big issue because largely these were politicians that committed all of these unspeakable acts, and these are the people that make our laws. So if the people that make our laws are sex trafficking children, I think it is quite a big deal. And again, it wasn't just politicians, it was CEOs, it was celebrities, but in particular politicians, I think that we should care about this because it does directly affect us in that way when these people make our laws. That's all.
Tulsi Gabbard is the one that's going to have everything when it comes to Epstein, because people forget that there's a criminal case and there's also a classified high side. That's the stuff that people want to see. So my thing is, I think the fact that he is aligned with the Israeli government is a big reason why they're not showing us that, because that's what people really want to see. Is there a client list? Maybe. But my thing is, I'm more interested in who was he working for? Why was he collecting the information that he was collecting? And what was he actually doing when he was in the US? Like, what were his meetings like, etc. Because I guarantee
to be fair,
they have that.
That kind of stuff will never be released. Like ever. Like when they said stuff like that would never come out.
That's what they campaign on, and that's why people are so pissed off.
But that's like their issue. Yeah. I think one big issue the Trump admin is going to have, like in the first term, because Trump doesn't know how to do politics, he didn't know anything about like, what are my...
That is true. He does not know how to do politics at all. He said, oh yeah, I'm going to hire, this second time, my second term, I'm going to hire good people. I was in here once. I know who the snakes are. And he goes around, he turns around, and he hires Marco Rubio for Secretary of State, one of the biggest neocons in politics today. So, to Destiny's point, he is correct.
You know, what do my cabinet members do, or what do my agencies do? Now coming in, right, he's appointed absolute sycophants in every single cabinet position, and now he can't use those.
Yeah, he put loyalists instead of competent individuals.
So he can't use deep state excuses anymore, unless we're saying the deep state is even deeper than all the Trump control. And when you've got guys like, you know, Bongo Balls or whatever on Tim Pool saying, I got a guy in the CIA who told me 100%, and now, you know, this guy is deputy of the FBI with Kash Patel or whatever, and they're like, oh shit, we actually have nothing. Nothing's going on here. And Tulsi Gabbard says nothing is going on, and Pam Bondi says nothing's going on. Like, at what point is it like,
has Tulsi Gabbard, because that's who people really need to ask questions to, because you know, people forget like how the intelligence apparatus is, but she's the one that's going to have everything. She's going to have the high side stuff that people are actually interested in.
I mean, they say that, but like, what was the argument before? The argument, so Pam Bondi should theoretically have everything for the DOJ, but she's like, well, the Southern District of New York was hiding stuff from us. So is Tulsi Gabbard going to leave in 4 years and be like, actually, you know, even though I was a director of National Intelligence, they were hiding stuff from me too. And it's like, fuck.
Well, the reason why I say her is because she's going to have access to all the classified stuff from the intelligence community, right? Like,
no, I understand theoretically, but I'm saying it feels like there's always a deeper state to point to once they're out of office. They're like, we couldn't get those files because somebody deep in this.
My bottom line is that if he had worked for the Saudi Arabian government, we would have those documents. But since he was tied in with the Israeli government, we're not getting those documents because...
True. Very true, because Israel is behind it. I mean, these are just... If you're a rational person, you can look for all of the information and you will find Israel and Mossad at the bottom of this rabbit hole that you will go down to find who is behind all of this.
And I guarantee why they're not going to release it. They're going to consider it national defense information, NDI.
Yep.
And off that, we can't release it. And then a lot of those people are still alive. Who knows what
I feel like this would be standard like, I don't think we would know about Saudi Arabia. I mean, they literally fucking chainsawed that one dude up in that embassy. We didn't do fuck all about that, right? I think at this point, I think most people believe.
But we wouldn't give that same level of, like, Saudi Arabia, cool. But like, I'm saying, like,
for Ukraine,
we give Israel is insane.
Maybe. I mean,
insane.
What was his name? Jasal?
Oh, Khashoggi?
Khashoggi. Jesus, fuck.
Yeah, the Saudi Arabian guy.
It's pretty crazy. Like, I'm pretty sure people saw him getting like carried out and
they killed him in Turkey. Yeah.
Yeah. And then and look at like Ukraine. I think at this point, most people know that Zelensky might not have had personal knowledge, but Ukraine probably took out the Nord Stream 2 pipeline. We haven't released anything or said anything. Fuck all about that. I think it's pretty standard practice we have allies. We're not going to release like condemned.
Sure. But like, you know, the amount of aid that we give them, the amount of money we give them, etc. Like, I'm saying, like, any other country, had Epstein not been aligned with Israel, let's say he had been aligned with Turkey, even Ukraine, some of our greatest allies, the info would have came out, is my argument.
I don't know.
It's speculative, but I think the info would have came out.
Erdogan was literally in the United States with his own bodyguards, like beating up U.S. citizens, and we didn't say fuck all about it. We're like, oh, you know, he's cool, you know, just... we give a lot of deference to people
Erdogan is a scumbag, man.
Sure, yeah. Turkey, it does a lot. I mean, Trump literally, when he left Syria, and Turkey was like, oh, we can go bomb these motherfucking Kurds now.
It's like the definition of like a guy that just talks shit, but...
Yeah, but I mean, like, we didn't do fuck all about it or condemn him or say anything bad about it, so I don't know. I think we get a lot of deference to our allies. It's hard to say.
So, it was a very interesting interview to watch, kind of a debate to watch, and I think it is funny because the both of them talk like super fast in that interview, and I had it on 1.25 speed, and they just went and you couldn't really understand that at first, so I apologize. But listen, I think that that Myron and Destiny debate on Epstein and his involvement in the Israel government, I think was very interesting. And I think that is an interesting point when Destiny talks about it could be Saudi Arabia. They do shady stuff as well. I'm open to that, but what Myron's saying is true. Trump is compromised because he has all these allegiances with all these powerful Israelis, especially the Adelsons, but others as well, other Israeli dual citizens in America and Israel, where they've donated to his campaign, and he's kind of beholden to them now. It's very sad to see, and I don't think that we're going to get those files. I predicted a long time ago that we wouldn't. I would love to. But I don't think that we're going to be able to get that, as unfortunate as it is. So, a very interesting interview. Don't get me wrong, but I'm not very optimistic when it comes to that at all. But that's been the show. Give me a like. Give me a sub. We are very fortunate to just be getting monetized now. So, thank you guys for everything, for all the support. Please comment something. Just continue to boost the show up in the algorithm. It's a pleasure. This is day 2 of a 5-night episode. We'll call it a run and see where it goes from here. But yeah, appreciate you all, and yeah, we'll see ya.